Good evening, everybody. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sims. Councilmember Pataglia. Mayor LaBrus.
Here.
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10:4-6 et sec. Notice having been published according to law with a copy on file in the city clerk's office and a copy posted on the bulletin board in City Hall.
Thank you. Would everybody please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. With that, we'll move right into the agenda, please. Right into the agenda, please. Sorry, my mic was off.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and invited guests. This is the Committee of the Whole agenda for October 29, 2019. First is an update on the recycling postcard mailing newsletter option. Through staff review and input from others, the city will be putting together a recycling calendar, street location for our bulk pick, no, strike that, rubbish and recycling for the city, to include also the twice-a-week pickup. I just want to, we had a meeting with our contractor that assist us in putting this together, and we should move forward. The question is just, we have a couple events coming up to establish the timeline when it'll be posted, but the plan is to come out with essentially a tear out that you can put on your refrigerator that'll identify the street you live on, the zone you live on, the dates that you will get the pickups, and all of this should progress, hopefully, in a cooperative effort and satisfactory for residents and also for the city to respond to. Obviously, there will be some changes along the way, because there always is, because we have to modify, because there are issues and things that come up. But I think that this should be a good product unless the mayor and council have additional input or things that they want done.
So what you provided here is the sample of what it's going to look like?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I think it covers everything we asked for. The streets are there, the calendar's there.
Okay.
I like it. What do you think? We're going to talk, did we talk about the leaf pickup?
We're going to make that change.
Okay. What should we tell the public?
The city will be, the city, myself and some of the staff will be attending the League of Municipalities, and the League of Municipalities provides training, equipment, and education for municipalities. It's in the week before Thanksgiving. So during the attendance, the city will be researching what they refer to as leaf vac truck inserts or leaf vac trailers. Depending on the size of them, we'll obviously get one that you can mount this basically giant vacuum cleaner in the back of a regular truck. So for some of our narrow streets and conditions that we have in certain sections of the town, and then we'll have a trailer that will handle the bigger roadways and lanes in the community. This would then reduce the ability or the cause and effect of bagging leaves, because then we would put crews out and we would remove these leaves and debris daily till we get it all sucked up and moved out, and then obviously take them and compost them, which assists returning this back to Mother Nature, which will ultimately wind up either mulch or dirt. So my mission is clear, and I will spend my time looking at leaf vacuum cleaners to assist the city so we can move forward. Any questions?
No questions.
Second, discussion item, veterans-friendly municipality. The city has a gentleman that is certainly trying to assist our veterans with municipal programs. Unfortunately, this person, Peter Lupo, had the ability to come tonight, but this is basically a glossy overview that the criteria is for veteran-friendly municipalities certifications are proactive notification of veterans-owned businesses, good faith as far as allowing these people to be contractors, good faith to allow veterans to have a percentage point, basically to have them the ability to work and prosper in our community. All of the details has not been completely done. If the mayor and council are considerate of this, we certainly can invite this gentleman to come back and hopefully completely outline the whole program. I would not be the spokesman for this program, not that I'm not supportive of it, I just don't have enough of the personal details to make this work. But I think that it's a great value to the community and a great value to our veterans for those that have served and done all that they could for us. It just makes good sense and logic for us to assist them to make sure that they prosper and also become even a more valued member of our community. Any questions?
None on that.
Okay. Interlocal agreement with Paramus is my third article. This is basically a renewal. We've done this in the past, at least in the 3 years that I've been here, 2016, 17, and 18. And I would suggest utilizing the arrangement again for 2020. We've used Paramus several times in the past for repairs that beyond the capability of our mechanics or the timeline to do this, and then we just pay for the parts and the labor rate. So this would assist us with our fleet repairs and make sure, especially for fire trucks, because that is a specialized repair. Not that mechanics can't fix a fire truck. So a fire truck is a mechanical, but there's so much of the wiring and technology that goes along with it, with the pump and all of this. Paramus, under this interlocal, has the trained and the tools and the training for these people to perform this service. So with hopefully the approval of council, we will continue that protocol. Number 4 is the 2020 proposed parking meter monthly fee increase. The city is reviewing constantly our parking meter service, how we provide service, how we provide parking, how we can update parking. Obviously, the concern has always been we want to have parking for our downtown and for people to either in town have places to park or certainly come and shop and see the city and the services and the events and community events that we have here. So proposed is basically for January 1st of 2020, all street meters will be increased from the present rate from their present rate to $1 per hour. Increase lot L will go to 75 cents an hour. Increase lot 5 will increase to $1 per hour. Increase the HUMC metered parking will go to $1.25 an hour. Increase monthly permit to 100 for surface lots, 110 for the Atlantic Street parking garage. Increase residents' reserved spaces at HUMC garage will go to 50. We are certainly considering residential parking will be needed in certain areas of HUMC to make sure that we take care of our residents, and it's already been defined and expressed that all the employees that work at the HUMC have parking. Whether they choose to utilize that parking through their employer is another issue, but I still have a responsibility to the residents to make sure that people that live and work here in town, other than at the hospital, also have parking. And basically, the increase for most part is 25 cents an hour from where it was at 75 to go to $1. Any questions?
I got one question.
Go ahead.
When we remove the parking for residents in Prosper Avenue, and we allow them to park in the Hackensack Medical Center, so now that particular parking spaces, they're gonna go from 25 to 50?
No,
That was my question.
it's $25 a month.
They were paying, they're doubling it.
Yes.
But then for the resident, that we
Those are
took the
residents.
parking spaces from Prospect, and now we are forcing them to pay the 25, and now they're gonna go up to 50?
I think that's a big jump.
That's a big
Because
difference.
we took their parking, their free parking
We
away.
took the parking that was free, because this particular building, they don't have parking in the past. And
Okay,
they used to parking, for free in Prospect. Now we went up to 25, and now we're gonna go up to 50?
okay, so as I started off this conversation, this is proposed.
Okay.
We're getting input from the council. If the council obviously wants to
To review that.
review that or work that back, we get it. Well, the point that we're trying to do is this revenue is going to be shared, to be utilized for improvements for parking and parking lots, so we can continue to basically prosper and provide ample parking and for the city residents.
But we
If
need
it's
some
too
consi-
aggressive, we
yeah.
can certainly
Yeah,
make
we
those
need some
changes.
consideration for the residents.
I think the other ones are fine. I just think that one's a little bit aggressive because they were parking for free before. We gave them the spots in the garage, which was cheap at $25. I thought it was too cheap to begin with.
Even
But since-
50 is, you're talking about $4 a month. Parking.
I thought it was, no, it's $25, it's
Oh,
$50
$25
per
a
month.
month. Oh, a
So you're
month.
going-
Yeah.
It's a
you're
year.
doubling
Oh,
their-
okay.
Doubling their parking
All right, so you're doing 50 a month.
a month.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Maybe, let's try to increment that. It's a little stiff.
I was thinking they only paid
Maybe we
25 a year.
increment-
They
No,
pay
it's-
25 a month?
Yeah, we can
25 a
increment
month.
in different places, but not
50 a
there.
month, that's a lot.
I was thinking it was a year. I was making it really cheap.
Okay,
Yeah, no, that is too much.
Let's
I
go
thought
back.
it was on a yearly basis, it doesn't say, so I thought it was good. My question is a $10 difference between parking in a surface parking lot and a garage enough? I mean, to me, there's huge advantages to parking in a garage, and we're only having a $10 difference between parking in a surface outdoor lot versus a parking inside a garage.
well, when we look at the.
I mean, I would just look at other towns maybe and let's see what their differential is. Like if it's 100 for a surface lot, well, bad weather, you're out, your car's out in the weather, you gotta clean your car off with the snow. Now you're in a nice, dry environment inside of a garage. I would think it would be worth more than $10 a month, but
Okay,
that was my only question. And so
we'll
those
look at the
25
two
per
of them
month.
and make the appropriate
Thinking it
changes
was
to the
per
mayor and
year.
council and see what response we get.
I thought we were giving it to them almost for
25
free.
a month is cheap.
Number 5 is city parks protecting the fields signage. For all the residents that are not aware, the city was able to purchase and replace the turf field at Johnson Park. It's a beautiful field. We've made some nice improvements. We have some more to go. It takes a little while to make all these improvements. But one of the things that the new turf field is cleats will not work. They'll tear up that turf. And the last turf field last 12 years?
15.
15 years. So to protect and make sure that we're going to have good use of the field and certainly for the safety of the players and the guests or visitors that are going to view this, we're going to spend a little money for to protect the field, permitted play only, and it specifies the requirements. The other thing is that we need to put some teeth in the ordinance that if we have a problem and we send either our police department or one of our rangers down to the park to specify this, they're gonna say it's not on the book, so I'm gonna wear whatever I want. No, that's not how this is gonna work. So we need to put an enforcement component in the ordinance to
You
make
got-
sure that we can.
Yeah, you got a sign right by the fence.
But we're gonna add some additional signs that show the manufacturer and installer produced. And for the cost of it, I think it's well valid because obviously notification to people is fencing, signage. You gotta make sure that you have all the angles covered because if they come in for a different direction, they didn't see the sign, they're gonna say, I didn't see it, and then starts the loophole. So we're working on that. Next is the Upper Main Alliance Gala plaque request for Jerry Soames. Mr. Soames regrettably was a pedestrian fatal killed on Prospect.
Yeah, Prospect.
Prospect 4 or 5 years ago, prior to my service. Our council meeting will be, so the Main Street Alliance would like to have a upcoming gala and present a plaque. Where this plaque would be located has not been determined. There's been some suggestions. I never met the man, but I've heard nothing but one word: respect for him and what he did as a resident and also as a person. Next is the bike lanes, number 7 on the agenda. We have a letter from Maywood, who would like to extend the Maywood bike lanes through the city of Hackensack. So basically, they're having a discussion with us to see the possibility of bike lanes extending to Fairview. The ultimate goal would be for the bike lanes to go from Main Street and Hackensack all the way up to Fairview,
Fairview Avenue,
which would
not Fairview.
be, says Fairview, which would be the entire length of Spring Valley Road into Maywood. However, they're still having a conversation to see if Paramus would be open to that suggestion. So, Mayor and Council, your thoughts?
Well, I would have traffic look at it to make sure we can fit a bike lane. There's a minimum, I think, 6 feet in order to accomplish that, and it has to be delineated. So we need to look at that end, but I'm not against it. I think it's kind of great.
I am.
You're against the bike lane?
Too, because it's a recipe for a problem. I am around that area every day.
Right.
And you got parking on both sides of the road in some streets, in some areas, right? And then you got the buses, right? It's no space really for the people to be safe around that area. That's my opinion.
The
That's
problem
why
is,
traffic,
yeah.
I think, has to look at it.
And the problem is there's no sidewalks there,
Sometimes when you're a
so,
resident, you be living in the city for over 50
Well, there's
years.
sidewalks in Hackensack.
well,
No,
on
I
the
know
route
the
they're
street pretty
talking,
good.
Right.
and you have a lot of people walking to the mall now from Summit Ave, and it's, you know, I don't know what the easy fix is, but.
Let traffic take a look and report back to us, but
Yeah, and then it's,
Yeah.
when you, if you're coming to Hackensack, what do you do when you hit Main Street with your bike?
well, can't be on the sidewalk.
I mean, you know, that's the other part of
They-
it. Like, I could see wanting to use the bike lane to get to the mall, you know,
Right.
if you could, but at the corner of intersection of Main and Spring Valley,
You're not
then we
gonna
have
do
to almost
shopping
provide
bicycle.
something. Well, maybe you are. Get to this mall on your bike, I don't know.
What do you think, Gary? You are in the bicycle.
I ride on the sidewalk, I have
Okay.
Find that man.
I'm only kidding, I don't on the sidewalk. But I'll talk on it, I'll give my opinion.
Okay.
Well, traffic,
Can
as
you
John
allow to
suggested,
talk
let
now?
traffic look into it.
I got it.
Well, no, when we have this done.
Okay.
Number 8 on the agenda is the concept of banning single use of plastic bags. I think that my personal opinion is, I think that this ultimately may be an issue that will be considered by many municipalities. I don't know if Hackensack is the primary one to jump way ahead of this, but
Well, there's a lot of them. Paramus, I believe, has it already.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty common
But I
right
know
now.
Stu Leonard still has, I went to Stu Leonard's and they had
Jersey City,
plastic
Hoboken.
bags, so I don't know.
So does ShopRite.
ShopRite has plastic bags, so maybe it's not
In the
in
mall.
effect yet. but
Weiss
Paramus passed
Weiss
the ordinance.
supermarkets have plastic. I mean,
But there's plastic throughout
it's
Paramus.
clearly a trend
Right.
that has not been completely established, but once it comes into place.
Oh,
January
is that
1st,
it? Is that why
comes-
it's still there?
So, yeah, we have a lot of supermarkets in
It would
town.
take some legwork for us, and this is the first time that
Why don't
I'm
we,
aware of that this has been broached, but
let's also, yeah, so that we're not just jumping into this, right into the water over our head. Let's reach out to Hackensack Market, ShopRite at Hackensack, Giant Market, tell them our intentions and our good intentions, and see what their take on it is.
Especially some of the smaller business owners. I would include all the business owners.
Really? Well,
Anything
probably
that's
all
in
the-
retail.
yeah.
But some of the
7-Eleven, all
smaller
of them.
business owners may be more, it may be harder for them to not do
Because
plastic, so.
now either people are gonna use their shopping bags, the reusable shopping bags, which I use, Or
we should be
people are gonna have to use
every
paper
resident
bags,
once
which are
City
trees.
of Hackensack.
They should just be part of the conversation, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before we move forward in any way, I think, Ted.
Okay. Last is number 9, which was a conversation that we had on the USTA facility grant that Deputy Mayor Sims commented on, and we just, for the record, checked to see if the grant would be applicable to work in our favor, and it is not at this time because funding for these awards won't be available until December, at which point construction is probably no longer feasible if we waited. That would force us to 2020, and the $10,000 grant only supports 2 court minimum in order to qualify. So my thought, unless council jumps in a different direction, is that we would look at this for Columbus Park and make this a separate grant application for Columbus for 2020, unless there was some other issue.
I think it's a good idea.
No, it's a great idea, but there's still no guarantee you're gonna get the money anyway.
No, but we certainly, I'm gonna leave Carver the way it is and try to make this application on behalf of.
When you say leave Carver the way it is,
Well,
explain.
we had a grant that we're gonna
So Carver
progress
will
to.
move forward getting repaired.
Correct. So we would then make
clear.
this grant applicable for,
So we can't use the money at Carver, but we could use it somewhere else.
correct.
It's bottom line.
That would complete the city manager's cow agenda.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to, need a motion to open to the public, please.
Offer.
All in favor? Aye. None opposed? Anybody from the public who'd like to speak, please come forward. Give your name to the clerk. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I've been losing my voice today. Whenever it's humid out, I lose my voice, but I'll try to speak as clearly as I can. Lorelei Karan Kaminsky, 170 Prospect Avenue,
you go.
Hackensack. I'd like to speak about the public ban on single-use plastic bags. The Environmental Commission is now part of ANJAC. ANJAC is the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions. They are promoting that most towns, municipalities should look at enforcing this. The state is not taking it on. Governor Murphy did not pass a statewide ban because he felt that each municipality is unique and they each have different needs. So the ordinances would have to be written to each new municipality's needs. They did have a model of an ordinance, which is what I looked at. I was the one who authored this ordinance. I looked at their model and I compared it to Glen Rock, and I also compared it to Hoboken, who at the time had theirs out on the internet, so I was able to see theirs and compare them to what we would be looking at. Since that time, since I authored this, Paramus did come in with theirs. They have over 700 retail stores that are going to be are going to be under this ordinance, and also Parsippany came in July with an ordinance. So we have some pretty large, areas that are implementing this. When you talk about retailers, I know I shop every so often at Aldi, and Aldi has that, policy. You bring your own bags or you pay for, a bag to take out. Traveling to Hawaii a year or so ago, they have no plastic bags on the island. Everything has to be either you bring your own. Even in a souvenir shop at the Marriott, I went into a souvenir shop and the woman would not give me a plastic bag or a paper bag. She said, you can either, if you have a bag, you can put it in there, or I can charge you for a bag. So there are a lot of towns, and I would believe it now, the last I heard, there's 70 towns that have already adopted the ordinances. And in Paramus, the Boy Scouts got on board. I'll just hand this to the clerk here, or to Ted if you want. The Boy Scouts helped with trying to get everybody on board with using single-use bags. And Parsippany also, is using it with charging either 10 cents or 25 cents for an alternate bag if you don't bring your own. So it's happening right around us. Teaneck already has one in place, so they're another place to look at. To see what they did. So I'll pass a couple of these papers over to you. You can look at them when you're discussing this, and hopefully we can take initiative as a town that's growing. We're going to be bringing more people in, and I know for the Going Green Club, when we did the cleanups, the biggest thing we found was plastic bags floating around in the, parks and whatever, and they do become, quite, I don't know, unsightly, let's say that, and not good for the environment. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions? I'll entertain.
Real quick, TNEC is up and running already? They're already
Yeah,
doing
there's
it?
is listed as one that's up and running.
One of the places I'm curious about is not so,
There are a lot of South Jersey towns. They always seem to jump in first on
Right.
these things. But we have Glen Rock, Hoboken, Teaneck, and then Parsippany and Paramus, which I would consider are, again, above Central Jersey. Most of the other ones are South Jersey that are
I'm
already in
curious
place.
how, like, it's obvious with the supermarket how it would work, but I'm curious, like a fast food, like a takeout place for chicken or something like that. A lot of them give you a plastic, those are the ones would have to go to paper because there's no other way. You can't be
Right.
expected to bring a bag in for your takeout food,
Right.
basically.
Yeah, I would assume that it goes to paper. Like if you go to Maggiano's and you take out, they give you a paper bag.
Right, Maggiano's.
Right, so, there are places that are doing it already. I think it's not much of a cost differential. And again, a lot of the people like restaurants will actually probably do it on their own.
I see our city.
Yeah, they just try-
I know
I mean-
he lives in Hoboken, so I'm curious about
So,
what
so,
happens in
so,
Hoboken.
it did take a period of adjustment, but I will say, I know and friends and family, we now carry around single-use bags, but if you don't have a bag, they will just charge you for one. And if there are certain exemptions for people of low income, if you can demonstrate that you can get a bag without a charge. So they do build in, they do build in some protections. I think most of the food is now coming in, in paper containers, but there was quite a bit of consternation when it was being implemented, and then after a period of adjustment, it did calm down and seems to be, adjusting pretty well. I mean, I've told you this before, but I mean, I've been fortunate enough to travel to Rwanda a couple of times. Rwanda is a country that is, barely, one of the poorest countries in the world, and they banned plastic bags entirely. In fact, if you come into the country with a plastic bag, most countries, if you're taking in other illicit items, they'll confiscate them. They'll confiscate your plastic bags. They're very serious about it because they had a serious pollution problem, and they've been able to make it work. But, you need to have a buy-in to it. You need to have the community involved in it. If you just implement it, then you start to get a lot of people really, upset over it. But if you explain the benefits of it and you give an appropriate adjustment time and you build in, hey, look, if you're stuck without a bag, you can get one, but it will cost you something. Most people seem to adjust, and it hasn't
Why
been
don't
a
we
huge
come up
issue.
with like a plan to, a promotion plan to put this out there so that, a positive promotion plan on all the benefits and.
Right, well, again, soliciting like the Boy Scouts and a couple other things to
Right.
do some educational things. I know when we do the cleanups, they were giving out single-use bags one year to people, who are doing the cleanup, they gave them the single-use cloth bags. So we can try to encourage people to give those out. They're not that expensive, and that would also give people the premise to say, well, gee, I have this single-use bag, now all I have to do is remember to take it with me.
Right.
But other than that, I think we can rally, a lot of the civic groups in town to help us with this. Again, the ordinance, as you mentioned, for people who are low income, there is a provision in here also in this ordinance that if you have an income issue, you can say, this at the store or whatever. If you have a card, you can let them know and they will not charge you for a bag.
Right.
So that's all built into the ordinance. I hope you take a minute to read it if you have copies.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or?
Thank you, Lorelei.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for.
Richard Salk in Hackensack. Well, that's one of those areas I feel very disappointed by this lack of state leadership. It's going to be a patchwork. It's a shame, and but that's what we're left with. And you're right. I wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Battaglia regarding the parking up there. It's a point well taken. When the developers agreement was done many years ago to obtain those parking spaces, it was for the residents. You ought to leave it alone. I wouldn't even charge them more. Just think about it, Jerry Soames, he brought a viable business, and it's really an anchor on Main Street. He had a pretty successful business up on the highway, brought it here, and it's been a benefit. First thing he jumped on, he was on the first Economic Development, I think it was Advisory Board. They put a lot of time into the city. He was a good man. But that's not why I'm up here. I didn't come to the last meeting. I saw the video, and I was disturbed. Now, Randy Glover, I don't know the man. I've seen him here a few times. Hackensack resident. I don't know if he has a decent claim against the city or not. I don't think it matters. But I don't think he was treated appropriately by the board, by the council, by the city attorney. The comment that he was not dealing with something governmental, that's not your decision. That's not your definition, Mr. Kleiman. The Open Public Meeting Act says he can speak on anything governmental that he feels may be of concern. And the size of your firm is certainly not violating any great thing of privacy. In fact, the night your firm was appointed, your senior partner turned it into an infomercial, quite frankly. And then, Mr. LaBrosse, I don't really think, do you really want to put the message out to the world that we don't have to answer any questions? Isn't that true? Is that what you stand for?
Not at all.
So why say it? Why put that out there? You know, let the man speak. What's the difference? He's got a decent case.
I did let him speak, Rick.
Has nothing, he's going to lose. Why put his face into it?
Because
it was unnecessary.
Because there's litigation being threatened, a tort claim, and I wasn't going to speak about it.
And questions that might have led to that, I agree. When he asked about political punchers, your response was correct. Check it out. It's online.
Absolutely.
But the size of your firm, that had nothing to do, and has nothing to do with litigation, Steve.
But it has nothing to do with anything related to a matter of governmental importance before this administration either.
No.
And I think that's the point, is
That's his definition, not yours. You need to look at the statute. You're misreading the statute.
I would respectfully disagree on that.
Yeah, well, you've done that before. You twisted things, and it's just not so. It's not right, and I don't think you want to put that image out, but that's up to you guys.
Next, please.
Regina DePasqua, Parker Avenue. Ted, I hope you find the leaf vacuum, because those leaves were still on my block. And this week, the street cleaner decided to just plow through them. Thank you, street cleaner, because they've been going around them for almost a month. Okay, and then the pile gets bigger, and then it deteriorates, and then it gets bigger again. He just went right through them this week, and I was happy to see that. Because, it also takes up a whole parking space. And I don't have parking on my street as it is. So one parking space makes a big difference. The single-use plastic bags, I did a quick look-up. Glenrock, Garfield, Haworth, Ridgewood, Teaneck have passed it. Leonia, Oradell, Wyckoff are looking into it. It's what's happening. And when you have your conversation with the markets, the stores, or whatever, we had a conversation at Stigma Free. We have bags that we would love.
Good point.
If they want to contribute, they could put their logo on the other side if they want to contribute. And we also need more people on the committee. Our committee is dwindling, but it's not, we can get different bags. This is what we have right now.
Right.
But Susan is looking at different bags, shopping bags. They're not expensive, but as an incentive for them that we could work together on this. And this would be a really, really good thing to do. The parking up at the hospital. I didn't even know they were getting charged $25 now.
I thought it was here.
Yeah, I thought it was free still, but I didn't even know that.
$25.
Yeah, because it went from free because the street parking was gone. So, but also, I also agree. I was offended by the way Mr. Glover was treated last meeting. We can ask and say whatever we want. You don't control what we say and what we ask. Maybe it's not your definition of what should be, but if you don't want to answer, you don't answer. That's how that works. To muzzle anybody because he has filed a tort claim, that's not justified. To muzzle anybody like that. Anybody that can come up here and express whatever they feel they need to
And I
express.
agree with you. I believe my comment was, he can ask whatever he wants. We don't have to answer. was my comment.
I
I'm not
understand that.
muzzling him, I'm just
No,
telling him,
no, Mr.
I am not
Kleinman.
going to answer him if it's anything related to litigation.
Mr. Kleinman told him he can't ask those questions here because they don't fit his definition of what is appropriate to be asked here. And that's not his place. He was out of order, Mr. Kleinman was out of order with Mr. Glover. Thank you, but this
Thank
is
you.
still a good idea.
Next, please.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for taking the time to listen to me for a few moments. This is in reference to the bike lane. My name's Salvador Ruiz. I live at 100 State Street.
Please talk.
Sorry, I'm tall. And this is okay. So these comments are in specific concerns to the bike lane. That was something I was very excited to hear about. One of the bike lanes provide a lot of great benefits. Some folks will generally suggest, and it's a common misconception, that bike lanes create more problems with traffic, when actually we've seen in across Europe and across New York City and other parts of the United States, namely Minneapolis, Southern California, that bike lanes actually decrease traffic and traffic incidents. Reason being, it forces everybody to slow down. The general concern, Mr. Mayor, that you selected about the 6 feet, that might be a little bit large for a bike lane on each side. But just some other benefits of the bike lane, besides cities having an overall higher safety record, in areas where bike lanes were protected and installed, specifically 9th Avenue, New York City is the most recent example, retail traffic in those locations went up 49%, making more businesses more likely to want to open in those zones. It makes logical sense. Another issue specific more towards Hackensack is, of the 44,000 or so people that live in the city, about 24,000 also work in the city. And what we can do, or what someone can do if planned properly, is connect those lanes to transportation hubs to remove the ability to have to drive, freeing up issues and freeing up things like parking. You don't even have to remove parking spots to install a bike lane. You can leave all the parking where it sits on the street now and put the bike lanes next to it, another feasible option. It just makes for an overall more healthy community, which you would think we would probably want, being that we have a hospital here. So I think, generally speaking, it would take a lot of consideration to do that, but I think doing that with me would be a good first step, and then hopefully expanding that, because I think that's something that would be good for the residents.
Thank you. What I want to do is if you'd sit with traffic and see where they could where they feel that bike lanes would work throughout the city, especially areas coming back from like Atlantic, coming down to the hospital. Obviously, State Street. Main Street's going to be a heavy lift because it is very narrow.
I would argue that Main Street wouldn't probably require. I would argue it should start at Essex,
Right.
and then hit the 3 train hubs, and then also circle around to spots where you would have public transit.
Our goal, I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Sal Ruiz.
Sal. Our goal, Sal, is to create a pedestrian-friendly and bicycle-friendly city. We're trying to get people out of cars, especially with all these new buildings going downtown. You know, I can see lots of bike racks at these new apartment buildings and people using them.
We have them, yeah. And I gave up a car, and I'm currently.
Unfortunately, we're dealing with some issues with bicycles on the sidewalk, which are a big safety hazard for us.
Yeah.
So, but I'm all in favor of creating bike lanes in the city.
Well, thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thanks.
Good evening, council. My name is Jeffrey. Live on Johnson Avenue in Hackensack. Just a bit of an idea that I've had. I usually watch all these meetings via YouTube, which is great. I really appreciate it because a lot of us don't have time to come down here. But now that I do have the time, the indoor soccer dome that's been promoted greatly, it's an idea. Sims, I watched you in a video during the opening of the rec say we won't sleep until this gets open, which is great. I mean, you have your ideas, but the council prides itself on saving the city money. Now, turning back the hands of times a little bit, we had the YMCA come here and claim that they wanted to have a partnership with the city in order to get some of that Johnson Field. Now, if we're gonna have a private-public situation with the YMCA, maybe we should revisit this and add stipulations of actually building that indoor soccer field. It would save the taxpayers money. In addition, you guys have the whole, I mean, if it's not rumor, that the space must be open space. Now, this could possibly be remedied by having rooftop open space. It's really big in New York City. So if you would use that space, you could still have the square footage. It would just be moved up 2 or 3 stories. So my idea would be, work with the YMCA, have them build it. It's a private-public partnership. And then you also keep that family satisfied by having the open space on the top, on the rooftop. The plastic bag ideas, I think it's awesome. I mean, I was at Slam Dunk the Junk last Saturday, and just walking around, that's all I saw was plastic bags. So that's outstanding if we do that. And lastly, the garbage situation. The recycling every 2 weeks, it's just not working for me. A lot of the residents complained that they had to stack cardboard for 2 weeks.
We're already going January 1st?
Switch.
I'm sorry, I must have missed that. I
We're going
apologize.
back to the every
The old
week.
way.
Every week? Okay.
It was an attempt, and it came through the DPW because other
Yeah.
towns were doing it, and we're trying to save money. We tried it, didn't work,
Sure.
so we're gonna go back the way it was.
I mean, my only other idea would be is if we're going to continue the two a week collecting garbage, maybe 1 week we do plastic bottles and then the other day we do cardboard.
Well, that's what we were doing, but it didn't work.
Oh, that didn't work as
That
well.
was exactly what we were doing. We were doing 1 week of, plastic and bottles and cans, and then a week of cardboard. But the plastic bottles and cans were
Getting mixed up.
winning by far, so.
Got it. All right, so that's just my idea for the indoor soccer field. If you do want to have it, then that. And lastly, one more thing. City pools, when's that happening? I mean, it's everywhere else. That's it.
I'll
Thank
be
you.
honest with you, Mr. Johnson, we've looked at it.
I'm Jeffrey.
I'm sorry.
I live on Johnson Avenue.
Jeffrey, sorry. And it's really the biggest issue with it now with new pools. You don't see too many municipalities putting in pools in the last decade or two. The cost of liability insurance for a pool is just phenomenal.
Correct.
And a lot of people think, oh, we have a pool, that it's free.
Yeah.
That's not the case either. You have to pay to go to your.
Absolutely,
Maywood people pay to go to the pool, Paramus people pay to go to the pool, Rochelle Park pays to go to the pool. Matter of fact, I, as a Hackensack resident, used to go to Maywood Pool, because you can do that. They take, because they get a little slow, believe it or not, and they'll take,
A lot of
Other
the
towns.
pools are seeing a decline. Yeah.
and I just can't,
Better if it closed.
They're even closing, yeah.
I just can't, the cost alone, that's why we went with the splash parks. I mean, we wanted to do something for the kids, especially in the summer, to keep them cool, the splash parks, and we're gonna keep pursuing that in other parks as well, so. But right now, I just can't see it. I'm not gonna write it off completely, but, the cost was unbelievable.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Gary Tuzano, 169 Fairmount, Hackensack. As far as the pools go, I can go back, remembering as a kid in Hackensack, there was the Hackensack Pool, which was a private business where All American Ford is right now, right behind the greenhouse. And in those days, the polio scare came in and the pool went away. And I went there several times for a couple of summers. It was a nice pool for the times. The scare came in. They were out of business. A few years went by. In 1966, the plans came forward with the Board of Ed, and it was pretty much a lure because Maywood wanted to leave Bogota, the school district. So the powers in the school board decided to expand what we have now, the high school pool, the Olympic-sized pool, and Maywood came to Hackensack, and that became pretty much the city pool. And it was open, and it's still open to this day, for residents to go and take lessons and adult swim and such. It's an Olympic-sized pool, it's been reconditioned. So we do have a pool, basically. That's
Right.
enough what I want to say about that. Now, as far as the veteran-friendly municipality, I'm a veteran, and I'm sensitive to veterans getting, employment and education. And I'm a union member of a United Association of Pipe Fitters and Plumbers, retired. And my organization nationally has started a Helmets to Hard Hats program where the veteran can come out of service and get into a trade. and it's working quite well. So it's in effect, and I only mention that because I heard about jobs in the report, but I appreciate that gentleman trying to move in that direction. The bike lanes, I recreationally ride bikes. I've been doing it a long time, whether I go to Nyack or I go to the county park over in Saddle River Pathway. Central area is a main corridor out of Hackensack for people coming out of Little Ferry. They ride that road. Spring Valley, a little bit tough because you get up near the Bergen Mall. Bike lanes could work, but once again, the parking in Maywood, people park on the street. I don't think it's all that much down around Parker School. You probably can park there. And Spring Valley's a little tough because there's not even sidewalks on most of Spring Valley on either side going into Maywood. So it'd have to be something like we say, the traffic, we really have to study it. Because for you to ride a bicycle now, even if it was a bike lane, in which we do, you still have to go around a parked car, and you're at the mercy of somebody maybe not paying attention behind the wheel, and off you go off the bicycle. So it's quite a study. And as far as the whole town would be, it all plays in with the parking and the availability of space from curb to curb.
Right.
So that's that. As far as the single bag use, I'm all in favor of it as part of on the Environmental Commission. Before I retired, I was working on a waterfront in Jersey City on top of a 500-foot high-rise building, 500 feet up. And I was working on the roof, and down there they have the peregrine falcons flying around and nesting on the waterfront. So I was up doing my job and taking a look to see if I could find the falcons. And I looked up, and there's a plastic bag about another 100 feet sailing through the air. I was amazed how it got up there. But that's how the pollution starts, and that's how it gets into the waterways. So it's important that we really study this plastic ban use, and eventually it's going to be styrofoam and everything, the plastic straws and such. So that's all I want to add. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Kathleen Salvo. All I can say is I think of the plastic bags in Polyfied Park. They come out of CVS, and I don't know, they must take the stuff out of the bag, and all the CVS bags are in Polyfied. They just blow, and it's an accumulation of thousands of them. I agree with Leo. We don't usually agree too many times, just too many lately, about plastic. That prospect, because I remember when we did give it to everybody for free because we took it away from them. Those apartments never had parking, and the hospital wanted it off, and we gave it to them free. So that was it. Parking after 6, we had said no money because we want to let the people patronize the food places. What's going to happen? What are the parking meters enforced until? From what time to what time? Till 6? So after 6, they can come and eat for free. Because everything with shopping and parking is free, with people, is free parking. People, they can go to the malls for free parking. So by increasing it, it's not going to help the situation any. Pool with a capital P, that young man had a very nice idea of putting the soccer dome up top and maybe put parking under. But also in the YMCA presentation, which I was very impressed with because it's not going to cost the city anything, they wanted to put a pool in. And bringing all these people into Hackensack, living in apartments, they need to do something. You have to give them incentive to come to Hackensack. And to say we have a state-of-the-art YMCA, I mean, that's like the best thing you could tell them. What else do we have to offer? Traffic? I mean, really. The bike lanes, I see accidents in New York all the time. The driver opens the door and whacks the cyclist. The best place to drive a bike would be the county parks. They have bike lanes, and be safe. Because we have people dying in Florida with these bike lanes. The motorists they don't expect to see somebody. A motorcycle makes noise. You know it's next to you. You know it's behind you. But a bicycle, especially when they're on the sidewalk and they're behind you, they're going to smack you. So I'm not really in favor of that. But the plastic bags, what do we do? I mean, maybe I'm old enough. We didn't have plastic bags years ago. And we were fine. I remember being in Bora Bora, and they took the French bread and put it on the bus. Or in Europe, and they wrap it in newspaper. Or in a mesh bag or something. So, I mean, we're the only people that really started with this plastic, and I think it got a little out of control. I used to wrap the bakery box with string, and they'd say, do you have a plastic bag for this? I go, but it's a box and it has string. Well, why would you want a plastic bag? But people are so into these plastic bags, that they want a plastic bag everything, and there was no reason for a plastic bag if you have a box and string. So I didn't like that idea. Mr. Soames was a beautiful person, and we need to really do something in his remembrance. That would be really nice. Back to the garbage twice a week in January, which you can't wait for that to happen, and the recycles, which will be good. And the other thing with the garbage collection twice a week is if it's bad weather, because I was talking to Joe and Glima, and he can't do it on Monday, then he's got the Thursday to fall back on, because those are 2 days. Because last year with that one collection, we had garbage for 2 weeks. I mean, there was we couldn't even carry it out. So that's the other advantage of doing it twice a week. Well, if Gary stayed a couple of minutes late, I'm going to stay too. Thank you.
Next, please. Thought she was going to stay.
She did.
Peter Marcazzani, Davis Avenue. I was just thinking of the parking, it just dawned on me, that American Dream just set the standard, $25 an hour to park on Main Street. I think that would be just wonderful. Maybe we could give them 2 hours for $25. I just want to talk a little bit, Ted mentioned League of Municipalities. I'm assuming there's going to be some state-of-the-art stuff that might be available, different contractors coming up with things. I've never been a big fan of vacuum trucks. I've seen them for many, many years. 30, 40 years ago, I was with a man who kind of invented one from scratch. And they're just too tedious. They don't do a good job. Maybe the newer ones do a little bit better. I've seen the people in Paramus, the trucks, they do like a block an hour or something like that as they creep along the curb. When I came to Hackensack and I saw the jaws of life, picking up leaves, I said, boy, this is really something. This is the way to do it. And that is by far the most effective and efficient leaf pickup system I've ever seen. And I think what leaves a little bit to be desired is, of course, the jaws, the way they're set up now without casters, they do scrape the street. They probably could be modified a little bit. They leave a little residue, which the street cleaners are right behind. They pick up whatever's left. They have a good system. I think the biggest problem we have right now, as Regina's mentioned a few times, is there's nothing you can set your watch by. I mean, you may not want to pick up on a certain day, but certainly within a couple of days or a week, you ought to be assured that something's going to come through. I thought bagging leaves was a good idea. After driving down Summit Avenue, I said, no way in hell can anybody bag these leaves. It's just impossible. And I think if they're put in the street and the city has a real efficient pickup schedule, and that may involve extra equipment, maybe not necessarily vacuum trucks, but other devices, maybe another payloader, they could probably set up a pretty good schedule to grab these piles of leaves, which don't really present a problem in the sewers. My observation has been when the leaves are there and they get wet, they form a dam, the leaves don't go anywhere. The problem is the loose leaves in the street that fall off the trees that are not the homeowner's responsibility. They will float, and they certainly floated the other day in the downpour. You could just watch all the stuff, that was coming off the trees as the rain was coming down, just flush down the drain. And one other thing, as an aside to that, I've noticed some of the new grates that are being put in the streets as we do the repaving, they do not have curb cuts. Those are just grates in the street, if I'm not mistaken. And the old sewer grates, catch basins, used to have a big opening that the animals would go in and out of, on the curb, where the leaves can just flow freely into there. Whereas now, the leaves tend to clog the drain, presents other flooding problems, because the water then goes over the drain, it keeps going down the street to the next drain. But I don't know whether that's something that's built into the plan as to whether we're eliminating one style in favor of another in terms of engineering. But I was just curious about that.
The new style, if I may, is to disallow for plastic bottles. There are certain sizes of bottles and certain other items cannot get through them. And unfortunately, leaves lay on top of them faster than the other ones. So.
Anyway, just a thought. I mean, Ted will come back with some good stuff, I'm sure. From
We're going to look.
League of Municipalities. So will you all. I'm sure you'll all be on the junket. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Anyone else from the public? Seeing none, motion to close?
Offer.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? See everybody around 8 o'clock. Motion to go into closed session, please.
Offer.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed.
Whereas the mayor and council of the city of Hackensack deem it necessary to discuss certain actions under section 7B7 and 7B8 of the Open Public Meeting Act, which pertains to matters falling within attorney-client privilege, ongoing litigation, and personnel matters concerning the employment of a current or prospective public employee. Whereas the mayor and council of the city of Hackensack is of the opinion that such circumstances may presently exist. And whereas the mayor and council wish to discuss the following issues: personnel matters, ongoing litigation, matters involving attorney-client privilege, matters involving the purchase, lease, or acquisition of real property, any pending and anticipated litigation or contract negotiations. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council of the city of Hackensack deem it necessary to exclude the public from this discussion. The outcome of the discussion will be disclosed within 90 days or at such time as the interests of the city do not require confidentiality.
I will be speaking to the council about the pending Candela litigation and also a tort claim notice filed by Briggs. Any other cases we discuss? Briggs, Sean Briggs. And any further cases that are discussed, I will bring to the public's attention at the close of the closed session. So we just want to add for the record that during closed session, the second closed session, we did speak about one additional piece of litigation. That's the one involving former Chief Zisa.
Okay, can I have a motion to close
The executive
the
session.
executive session?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I need a motion to,
And they want to excuse the mayor or what?
the cow.
The cow or the council? The
No,
cow.
the cow.
Can I have a motion to close the cow meeting?
Offer?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.